Hi, Steve Draper here in my workshop in Bellevue, Nebraska. This is assignment number 2 for the horizontal boring assignments on the Shopsmith Mark 47520 self-study course. On your last assignment, you edge doweled these two boards together. We will use these as a spacer on this next assignment, but I want to show you how we're going to do this next assignment starting from where you were on the last one. You had your fence here with the attached a 3/4 inch plywood down in the left miter slot. For the next one, you're going to have this over on the right miter slot to do it. Now, I want to talk a minute first about the Mark IV. If you have the Mark IV, then your tubes are going to be shorter than what you see here, and typically this is going to be about where you're going to be at if it was a Mark IV. Now, for this particular assignment, which is on doing the pegged butt joint, if you have a Mark IV, this hangs out too far to do it because we need this stock here to be on a flat surface to do this one. So on the Mark IV, you're not going to be able to have the 3/4 inch plywood down in the slot like you do on the 520 and on the Mark VII. What you're going to have to do on that one is you're going to have your fence back here, and this won't be down the slot, so it's not going to help you. And of course, you'll lock it down, and you're just going to have to be a little bit slower when you do your advancing your quill, so you don't too much pressure on this fence to making it move. So that's what you're going to have to do on the Mark IV. On the Mark IV, there's just insufficient space here to put a floating table on, which is what we're going to do on the 520 or on the Mark VII. So let's do it like we will do it on the Mark VII or the 520. And on that model, we will go ahead and put the 3/4 inch plywood down in your right table slot and lock down the fence on this one. Now you notice here I've put the light on here just to have a little bit additional light to see on this one, and we're going to go ahead and put on our floating table. And then we'll go ahead and lock our knobs down on those connector tubes. So on this assignment, we're going to want to have the stock about right here. So that's what the function of using last assignment's boards as a spacer here, so that we can do that. And of course, we need to have the miter gauge to hold that in place. And positioning the miter gauge, the little piece of paper that we put in there makes it much easier to tighten that down tightly. And when we put that on, you just want to wrap that right there around the expansion screw and just put it right down the slot and hold on to the paper while we put that back in there where we need it. Now the purpose of the extension fence being on the miter gauge is so that we can provide a place to register our boards against. We want these boards, when they're done, to be flush with each other on both edges. And so this gives us a surface to register those edges against. And then of course we've got our table surface to register the bottom from. So we got two surfaces here to register against. So for setting where we want to have our holes go, I know in instructions we told you to mark a line vertically here about 1/2 inch in from either side, which is fine, but you don't have to be exact on the placement of that, just as long as you're close. I'm going to just eyeball this one and put it about right there, and then we will tighten down that miter gauge in the slot right there. So that's our bottom piece of stock. And you notice we've removed the safety grip here. It just gets in the way if you have it there. It's not essential that you remove it, but it does make the operation a whole lot easier. And then, of course, when we do it, we will advance the quill and drill our hole right through both pieces at once. And those will be perfectly aligned when we do that. Now, to keep this piece registered against the miter gauge extension fence, you just take a clamp. You don't have to clamp that very hard, just enough to hold it in place. And then we will put this F clamp, hold it down to the table. And then we will test here, make sure that is, our clamp's not in the way, which is not. And there we are. That's everything where it needs to be. And so now we will set our depth on here. Now we will advance the quill and bury. Make sure this is tight here. Here we go. Okay. Motor's tight. And we're going to bury that right down to the spurs into the wood, tighten it. Then we're going to set our depth for 1 7/8 inches. That'll give us sufficient so that those pegs, when they're done, they'll sit proud of the surface like you see on here. Okay, there's 0. There is 1 7/8 right there. Just 2 notches short of the 2. Now you notice on my machine that I've got the adjustable handle, which is available as an option. The nice thing on here is it has 12 different positions. The one that comes with the Shopsmith just has 3 positions, and but these are nice because you can easily reposition them wherever you need to. Okay, so now we will let that come back, and we'll go ahead and make our cut. Now, you notice I did not go through the entire 7-step safety check this time because nothing's been changed since the last assignment other than moving this motor a little bit. So I've checked that, but none of the other things were changed. So that's why I didn't go through the entire 7-step safety check. All right, so let's go ahead and drill our first hole here. And I like to keep a brush right here. Makes it easy to wipe off the sawdust from my table. And now we'll go ahead and put those together and put the first peg in. which will hold it in position for when we drill our second one. So there, that's held in position. So now we can do our second hole. We'll move our miter gauge so we can do our other hole. We'll put that one about right there. Tighten the miter gauge in position. Put everything back again. Okay, now we'll drill our second hole. Okay, there we go. So there's our pegged butt joint. Thanks for watching. Steve Draper, Bellevue, Nebraska.